YouTube was popping. Goobs back with another tip video. In this one, we have a little bit of a different one. It's not really one that anybody in particular has requested, but it's one that over the course of my years and years playing MLB The Show that I thought may help you guys. As you can see by the title, it is how to set up and properly manage your lineup and bench in Diamond Dynasty. As someone who's been playing this game at the highest competitive point for 6, 7, 8 years, this is something that I see almost every day, and I'm like, oh my god, like if people would just, if they would fix this and set this up properly, they would be doing themselves wonders. So first of all, to get into it, I'm going to show you guys my ranked lineup right now and show you how I set it up. So the first tip, and tip number one, I'm going to tell you for your lineup this year, you do not want more than 2 left-handed bats in your lineup. With the amount of how many lefty starters are in this game, and with the amount of how many people have or are very close to Randy Johnson now at this point in the game, and you think of guys like Keuchel, there's a new Chris Sale coming out soon, David Price, there's a ton of good lefties now, guys, and we all know how difficult lefty is in this game. So you can see here that I only have 2 lefties here in my lineup, in Chase Utley and Rafael Devers. So like, you can put 3 would be the absolute max, but you want to really limit those lefty at bats, not even just early on in the game, but also in the latter part of the game when you would face like a lefty specialist. And even if you do have more like the lefties in your lineup, you want the lefties to be balanced. So you can see Chase Utley has 101 and 90 against lefties at P5, and Devers is 112 and 83 at P2 against lefties. So even the couple lefties that I have in are pretty decent against lefties. Now I want to show you guys how I have it set up and why I have it set up like this. So I have Utley in the leadoff spot. He's probably been my most consistent hitter. You don't technically really want your fastest guy to be your one-hole hitter, obviously. I just feel the most confident in Utley, especially if I'm facing a righty to get on base. So I want to get as many base runners as possible. So Utley, I mean, he can do everything, man. He's got, like, he's not slow. He's got 77 speed, but like the man's gonna get on base. You can see here, I have 441 plate appearances. A majority of these coming on Hall of Fame and Legend. He's hitting 398 with a 410 OBP. So you can get on whoever your highest OBP guy is, stick him in the one hole, get him on base as much as you possibly can. But now if you look at my lineup, as I said, the 2 lefties, and I do only have 1 switch hitters because I've kind of been experimenting with some different stuff this week and this past weekend, especially with the summer circuit tournament I competed in. I definitely do need to fit some more switch hitters in here, but I'm also kind of testing some cards out right now, so that's why there's only 1 switch hitter. There are plenty of really good switch hitting options. This Ketel Marte card is probably one of my favorite cards in the game, and he's probably gonna end up back on my team somewhere eventually, but for right now, his place has gotten taken by Ronald Acuna Jr., who is in my 2-0 because after the most recent roster update, this man is broken, especially the days where he's up against lefties and that contact, almost hits, the high 90s region. I mean, dude, this card is literally, he's perfect as far as like a hitter, as hitting wise as you can get. He's fast. He's got one of the best swings in the game. He's got pretty well every quirk you would ever want in a hitter. I put him in the 2-hole, man. I just got him P5. He's got 50 bombs for me, bro. This card hits nukes. I also did just get him P5, so that's kind of why he's also being tried out right now. But normally this would be Trout spot, but after the downgrade, I think Trout's actually better suited in your lineup, kind of further down, and I would definitely put Ronald ahead of him. That's that. We got my cap. I know a lot of people don't use caps, but this, like, my 3-hole hitter is just my most confident hitter. My cap, like, he's literally broken, bro. Like, he gets like 115 everything once I get him maxed out. So and I mean, you want that protection because Acuna is pretty well rounded, but you want someone that is also just as well rounded underneath him. So here are his actual attributes. So 111, 111, 109, 107. I think once I get him completely maxed out, he'll have about 119 contact and like 115 power or something. He's gonna be insane. So you want somebody just as well rounded. So this is like the meat of your order. This is the guys that you want the most confident late in the games, top, bottom 9, with runners on. These are the guys you want up. So I got my cap. He's my most confident. I got the 2 guys that I'm trying to get on base now, and Utley and Acuna. These are the guys that got to drive him in. Cap, we went over Franklin Tomas, probably my best hitter in this game in the 4-hole. I mean, just look at him. You want to stick your best hitters 3, 4, and 5 in any way. Now, say if you have a lefty somewhere in here, I have 2 righties and a switch hitter, but say if Devers is one of your best hitters and you have him like in the 3-hole, I would recommend putting him in the 4-hole because you don't really want like a lefty 2 batters after another lefty, just in case there is a lefty starter on the bump, or later on in the game, if Chase Utley comes up top 9, somebody brings in a lefty, you're either gonna have to pinch hit for him or Devers, or you're gonna have two lefty at bats. Definitely spread out your lefties. Don't have them too close together in the lineup. You know, if you want to have it like that, that's perfectly fine as well. Just make sure they're not like this. So kind of like the bottom half of the order here, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are just guys that, you know, and this is like your really like your reorder. So you have your first 4 in order, the back 4 now. I got Trout in the 5 hole. I mean, bro, Trout's still insane. He's not as good as he was before he got his downgrade, obviously. But out of all of these guys, you could probably switch him and Clemente in this lineup, and it would work just as well because, you know, the higher Clemente is in the order with that 125 contact, you definitely want him to try and get as many at-bats as possible. But I'm going to explain why I have him in the 7 hole. Trout in the 5 hole, you know, there still might be times where there are guys up, you know, 2 outs in the inning or something like that, or to lead off the game, or not to lead off the game, sorry, to lead off the inning with the 92 speed. You want him getting on base and then having these guys drive him in as well. So Trout's kind of like the do it all, man. You either like he'll be in spots where I need him to drive in runs, and he'll be in spots where I just need him to get on base. The bottom 3 now, Devers. So I kind of have Devers, you know, way away from Utley kind of thing. So and really the point behind this is to protect Trout. So Trout with the low contact against righties, you know, days where he's either up against lefties or he doesn't get 5-star inside edge against righties, because he's +9 today, as you can see. So he's got 90, which, you know, is pretty solid. It's not broken, but with somebody with 90 contact, you know, most people are going to be bringing in, you know, like a Clay Holmes or a Kenley against him, or just a righty in general. I want to have that big boomstick behind him in Rafael Devers that has 170 and 111 against righties. Give him the protection. Protect your hitters, fellas. Like the front 4, you know, you can especially see where, like, as I talked about, days where Acuna won't be playing up against lefties or something like that, or he's up against righties. Cedric protects him perfectly because he can hit both sides well. Frank protects Cedric because he hits both sides well. You know, everyone can hit everything. Comes to the point where Trout, you know, you might struggle with him against the righty. Devers is right on deck behind. It's the same thing here. If somebody brings in a lefty against Devers, they have to go against Roberto Clemente, who once I get him P5 will be 125 and 90 pop against lefties. That's, and then, you know, you got Fosky right behind him. You're bringing a lefty against Devers, you've got to go through these 2 right here, who are really... So you can kind of tell, and I'm always someone that is thinking the latter part of the game, you know, those 6, 7, 8, 9 innings, you know, the first 4 or 5, you know, I'm just trying to get a feel of my opponent kind of thing, see if I can keep the game close, get some runs kind of thing. You can see with Utley, man, everyone can hit lefties behind him, and everyone can hit lefties behind Devers. So I'm really trying to minimize the at-bats where I will be at a disadvantage. Because for myself personally, I am a big fan of hitting righty-righty. Now, I know Fosky is somebody that is not really great against righties. He's still, like, 87, 109 is fantastic. But on the legend difficulty that I'm playing on, you know, even Hall of Fame and stuff like that, the PCI is very small and you might not be used to it. But, you know, your 8-hole hitter in Fosky, I adore this card, man. If you have not tried this card out, I would definitely recommend him. He's got an insane swing. He's got like that kind of old school Corey Seager 2-handed style 2 type swing from like MLB 16 and 17. He's very similar to like a Eugenio Suarez, but I mean, dude, just look at his stats. This card is insane. He's your perfect kind of 8-hole hitter. Now, as I said, you could swap Clemente and Trout right there, because I mean, Trout's pretty decent against lefties, even when he's not up on IE 112 and 91. So, you know, the contact is definitely there. I just kind of got Trout, so I have him a little bit higher in the order. Plus, I just like it so that, you know, if somebody brings in a righty against Trout, they have to go through Devers on deck. As far as my bench, the bench is pretty simple. I don't rock any platoons. I don't really recommend doing any platoons. So like, say like if you have Devers here, I wouldn't recommend like platooning like Manny Machado. Like, it's not a terrible idea. You can do it. I just don't really recommend it. Stick to your normal lineup. Get used to the guys that you are using. You know, save your guys for the bench bat, because that's the number one thing you do not want to do, bro. You do not want to run out of bench bats later on in the game, because that's just the worst feeling ever. And how you manage your bench as well. So like, you don't always have to go to, so like I would say that Larry Walker, you know, and Nelson Cruz are my 2 best pinch hitters against the respected sides. So like, I'm waiting for when there are runners on to bring in Walker or to bring in Cruz. You know, I might go with like Ketel off the bench first, or Mauer or Sheffield. You know, guys, you know, the bottom part of the bench guys, not my 2 best statistically. I want to save those for the highest leverage situations possible. And you wouldn't believe how much of a difference that makes, you know, compared to having like Nelson Cruz with the bases juice, bottom 9 against the lefty, compared to if you use him in the 5th inning where there's 1 out and 1 runner on kind of thing, and you pop up. You want to save him for the highest leverage situation possible. But that's my lineup, and I know like this is a very, very good lineup, but now I'm going to kind of build a lineup that, you know, might be similar to like a no money spent squad or something like that, that, you know, doesn't have all the collections done. And then I'll talk. All right, here is a team that is a little bit cheaper, and, you know, every card is accessible on the market, I guess, as rather than Gym Race. But I mean, if you grind it out the last player of the month, then you also do have Gym Race. So let's just go through this lineup very quick. As you see, this lineup does have 3 lefties, so I wanted to show you guys how you can manage your lineup if you do want 3 lefties in there. Stott, Martin, Toglia, Beatty, Rice, Polanco, Valera, and Henry Davis is the lineup. So Bryson Stott and Austin Martin are your 2 kind of leadoff guys. You know, they're, as you can see, they're very similar to someone like Chase Utley and Ronald Acuna that I would have in my lineup. But, you know, Bryson Stott is 14K and Austin Martin is 13K compared to those guys who are 328K, and, you know, Chase Utley, however much the NL East is now. So you can see the difference. Stott's very good, man. You know, even against a lefty, I really like this card swing. I tried him in the event in a couple ranked games. He's a fantastic shortstop if you guys need a shortstop. He hits both sides very well. The power is kind of lacking against lefties, but I promise you, man, you won't really notice that. But he's the perfect kind of leadoff guy that you want. Austin Martin, the tool, is very similar to the All-Star Game Trey Turner from last year. Maybe besides the speed and, you know, maybe his swing isn't exactly the same. But statistically wise, man, and just like the way that he plays and the way that I feel like he is in this game, he is very similar to that card. So, you know, both of these guys have very high content, which I value over power this year. But, you know, you obviously still need a little bit of power. You don't want guys with like 50s and 60s in the power, you know. Now, as I said before, into the meat of the order, the guys that you are going to want to drive in these 1 and 2 hole hitters. Toglia, switch hitter, unbelievable pop first baseman, diamond defense. He can also play the corner outfield, which I actually don't mind if you're playing at like a smaller stadium. His contact is a little bit hard to use on Legend, but, you know, that's only like 0.1% of the players. So on All-Star and Hall of Fame, I cannot recommend this card enough. He's the perfect kind of 3-hole hitter because he's actually better against lefties with that contact, but he's still very, very, very good against righties, and he's a switch hitter. He is literally the perfect 3-hole hitter for you. Now kind of switch it up a little bit just because there's actually no like like back-to-back righties in the rest of the squad. It's a lefty righty switch and then a lefty and a righty. So Brett Beatty is a card that I do not mind. I just kind of have him in here because I don't really have anybody else like in my collection. I have Orelvis. I mean, like, you could put even J-Ram there, you know, someone like that. I really like this card, man. He's very good statistically wise, very good against righties, but the best thing is if you do face that lefty, he can mash lefties. 94, 88. I don't even have him paralleled up. So what is that with, like, you know, 98, 92 if you get him like P4 kind of. Fantastic card to have in the 4-hole. Jim Rice kind of provides that protection later on in the game with a righty behind Beatty. I know he has kind of inverse splits, but I mean, he's pretty well rounded. You know, I'm not telling you guys to use these exact cards and like this exact lineup, but this is just kind of like an example of how to set it up. Jim Rice hits both sides very well, so, you know, if it's later on in the inning, 2 outs kind of thing, he's still not bad against a righty. But, you know, later on in the game, Sonny brings in a lefty, sorry, against Beatty. They're going to have to go through Jim Rice. So now the bottom part of the order here, Jorge Polanco kind of like resets it all right after Jim Rice. You know, you get that switch hitter again, so no matter what, you're going to be at a favorable matchup. And this Polanco card is very, very good, man. If you were rocking like a no money spend squad, you need kind of like a middle infielder. I cannot recommend this card enough, man. He is very, very similar to that Cattell card. Or if you just want to go and use Cattell here, you also could. But having that switch hitter there, man, like really resets it after the Beatty and Rice right there. Beatty and Rice. Hey, Beatty Rice. Let's go. George Valera, a big-handed lefty bat in the bottom half of the order. So, you know, say if you kind of have like a really, really long inning slot, some runners on him, there's a righty on the bump, this man is going to hit the baseball very far, and then he gets protected by Henry Davis down at the bottom there. So I think that you guys kind of get the gist now what I'm trying to tell you. Protect yourselves, man. Protect your runners. Don't have too many lefties in your lineup and you'll be golden. If you guys have any questions about your lineups and stuff like that and like different cards that you should use, a series I was thinking about starting actually is like going through your guys' DD teams and, you know, doing stuff like that. So if that is something you guys would love to see, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, fellas. We are closing in on 2K subs. It would mean the world to me, and I appreciate you guys. I will see you dudes in the next video. Deuces.